Lake Beulah Dam continuation discussion enclosed on your packets, page 28 through 43.
So this is a re-agendized item from last month, so I'll give you some updates of things that have developed since last month, though this is mostly a repeat of the same material you had last time with minor exceptions in your packet, like a photo was added on page 30 of people parking on the dam, and then I've included also all the letters that went out. 3 letters went out to individuals involved with the dam. First letter was to the Lake District, and the second letter was to all residents who live on the dam, and the third letter was to the resident who was excavating on the dam. So an individual letter there. We sent them out certified mail. We received every certifications back on all but the individual letter, though I see the gentleman's present here today. And then the other thing is, after the letter got to the Lake Beulah Dam, I was quickly invited to come to is it a monthly meeting?
Usually, yes.
Okay, a monthly meeting. I went up to that meeting. They had kind of a closed door session for a little while. I believe they were talking about the dam, and and then I basically laid out the principles that were put into the letter and what was discussed at last month's meeting. To which they didn't really act upon anything. They thanked me for the information. That's about as far as that went. And then what was in these letters? Well, that's in your packet there, and this is essentially how, following our discussion last month, these would be my proposals going into this meeting. Essentially, I would like to see any existing structures grandfathered, but they would not be able to be repaired. So once they could not be safe or maintained, once they're beyond safe condition, then they would get removed to eventually get to a state of a more natural dam. And the other thing is that I would be proposing today for your consideration is anything that is a movable item, such as the lifts. They can store those on their personal property, not the county right away. So that's kind of where I'm at on this, but I'm open to anything you propose or discuss.
Any discussion?
I just had one thing, it's a little late because the letters are failed out, but on page 43, paragraph 5 on line 3, there's a word missing, so compared to the other ones.
Do you know what word was missing?
Yeah, question. It just says if you have any, then the question is missing.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that the fence was taken down?
No,
Will
we
the fence
didn't
be
decide
taken-
on that.
Excuse me?
We didn't get anything definitive from you last month, so,
So will they be able to get their structures out without the fence coming down?
well, are you proposing we remove the structures?
Yes, actually. Now, the structures meaning the boat.
Or you're talking the structure to me is a fixed
No,
item, like
okay,
a
sorry.
house or, the concrete pads.
No. I'm really talking about the boat lifts and the piers going out that are.
Yeah, I call that, in my dialogue, I'm calling those movable objects, so,
Okay.
I
So
think,
can
yeah, unless they can be stored within their land, there's a fancy term for that, I forget what it is right now. And out of our right of way, then yes, it should come out. Now, can they get it, to your question, can they get it over the fence? It depends on what property owner we're talking about and how much fence they got out there. But they can always take that out via another means too. But that would be on them to get it out of the area each. each season that they need to come off and not be stored on our right of way. So I am looking for a motion of some form as to your guidance as to what you agreed to, because I'm gonna then subsequently send out letters to the various parties involved.
Mr. Chair, before you take a motion, I think it would be beneficial for you to view it.
Yeah, do we go to your own show?
Oh, yeah, we do. I was getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if we can you click play on the drone? I don't think we need to watch all of this. It kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. But first couple of minutes are kind of show, and most of this developments that you'll be looking at, when you look at a backdating a GIS image, a lot of this started showing up in the early 2000s.
Can you pause that for 1 second? So off to my, what I'm gonna say, the right side, there is a white pier. Is that movable or is that fixed? To me, it looks fixed, so.
That one looks fixed on the far right, but I'm not sure if that it is or not, or if it's removable, but all I'm advocating is it gets stored somewhere other than our right of way.
I think as of right now, they all come out as far as I know.
Most docks in Wisconsin do come out, so. But yeah, they'd have to move them to their storage location or private property.
Thank you.
But you see there's gaps there in the fence.
Yep.
Right, so they could make their way there. This area too is restricted parking in our ordinances, so there is no parking on the right of way in this vicinity. You see a large concrete pad there,
Yes.
right?
So how do people know not to park there then, Rich?
Say again?
How would people know not to park there?
There's a sign right there, is that a no parking?
There is a sign.
If there isn't, we can look at that.
I don't remember sign there.
There's only like a dozen places in the county that's no parking, so generally they're marked. And there you have the actual dam itself, but the whole thing's considered by DNR a dam that you just imaged. And it's just gonna pan back with a different angle. Do we need to continue watching? Okay, we're good on the drone.
Any discussion from board members?
Would it be okay if it's okay with the committee that, I know there's a Lake District member on the board if they'd like to speak?
That's up to you, that's up to the committee.
So I believe there's a Lake District member on the board, I don't know if he wants to say anything. Jess, can you hear me? Jess, can you hear me? Okay, so that's fine, and then there's somebody in the audience, you said that lives there, Rich?
Yeah, I would,
You live there?
yeah, I'm
I think,
very
I'm just talking with the committee to something this big, maybe hear what you guys.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yeah, now we can hear you, Jess. I didn't know if you.
Okay, great.
You're talking to Rick, Stacy right now. I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
Oh, well, I think these are all valid points that are being brought up. There is a big concern that, the old Double D, a bar, which, is supposed to become a home. There are people continually parking there. The new owner did recently, I think last week, put some, no parking signs, trying to keep people from parking in the right of way and using actually the Lakeview management frontage, which is becoming a bigger problem because nobody's respecting that it's private property. And I also, just from living in the area, routinely drive by, and I am glad to hear, that structures, et cetera, are no longer going to be allowed. But I, you know, one thing that is concerning is there is always ongoing activity with adding a fence or, you know, doing whatever repairs. I don't know what the method is to curtail that activity. And the last point is, which includes the Lakeview management, by the way, that the fences, I think, more or less, all fall within the right of way. And I'm not sure what the proposal is to either leave them or have them removed. But, you know, they're blocking the right of way. And I would think most of those properties have a fence within the right of way.
He is correct. We own, it depends on the property, the right-of-way kind of moves, and some of the images in your package show the right-of-way. Some have a little more land, riparian rights than others, is the term I was looking for earlier. So, for their property, it gets, you know, but the predominant property owner along that dam is the county. And it's just a solid line, and then it's kind of an undulating line for the property owners. There are two fences really to talk about. You have people who have put a parallel fence that runs along the highway, and then you have those that have defined their property with perpendicular fences to kind of define their left and right limits from their neighbors, though that too is often in the right of way. Last year when we were our last 2 years that we've been exercising what DNR wanted us to do, we were cleaning up both of those fence lines for any shoots or other small trees and vegetation and treating them so that we didn't have additional growth. We did remove some vegetation in there as well that was necessary to get at some of the tree shoots. But within our right of way for the most part, but not always. Sometimes in order to address DNR's concern with the dam, and all of this, by the way, is supported by an agreement that was done in the 2006-07 timeframe, a three-party agreement, which I mentioned last month, just reminding you, between the Lake District, the county, DNR, signed off on this agreement as to whose rights were where and what responsibilities the various parties had, to include defining riparian rights and limitations. Many of these things were in place that probably drove that agreement, I'm only guessing, 20 years ago, and have been in place such, but we've continued to see some growth. So what we're trying to advocate is, okay, cease and desist, that agreement's still in place, and DNR got a little more firm over recent years that we acted upon to take out the growth that's in there. There's been some, and I'd say maybe this is another update. We did have the DNR, they have a new person assigned to our area, and she did weigh in on what she thought was necessary for the dam, and it was actually completely 180 degrees different than what we were told by the predecessor. We did everything that the predecessor was telling us and put in writing, such as, you know, replacing, keeping the root structure in place, and then but taking the tree trunks down to a certain level and filling in it with pack. So we did everything there, and we're getting a slightly different opinion as to what was necessary to begin with. Regardless, it's all past tense at this point, the trees are gone, but she is scheduled to do a dam inspection sometime this year. We don't have a timeline to act upon there, nor do we really have a firm grasp on, well, will we get something additional out of this inspection besides kind of the norm? So we don't really have a commitment there. Is that how you see it, Joe? Is that correct? Yep. So that's kind of where we're at. Meanwhile, we do know when we're on firm ground that the county right of way, if you're going to develop anything in it, you have to have a permit. We're not likely ever going to approve structures going in there. That's just not going to be the case in a normal setting. And fences, huts, concrete pads, none of that would ever get built. The only people we ever get permits to in the right of way is utilities and other things that are going in there for public good.
What are the concrete pads for, just parking or just,
Say again?
concrete pads? What are they used for, you know?
Why are they using them?
Yeah,
They're using them to set up picnic tables and
okay, that's what I figured.
docks and what have you.
So I don't know, the committee, if, they would allow it, would you like to say something? If you could come up and you have to state your name and, address.
Yeah, my name,
Just speak up for that.
my name is Martin Golan. I'm the one who, they said excavated on the dam. What I did was a deck was taken out and then there were some roots under the other part of the deck, and I own a farm, so I have a mini excavator. I just pulled the roots out. I get where you guys are going on some of the lifts and things like that. As a grandfather, I have kids, and a lot of the people along there have kids. We have a fence along the road. That's what this committee would hate, is if some kid ran out of the road, onto the road from the docks on the other side. That's, I mean, this is kind of a retirement home for us and our kids, so that would be the thing that I would ask. I mean, there's fences all there, and I got the letter saying we're grandfathered, and that's what I would ask, is just the fences. I get if we have to put a new fence in, we'd have to go, however, I don't know how close we are to the line, how far we are, but if we come in 3 foot from where our fence is, and then people come along the road or whatever, but yeah, my main concern is safety there.
I didn't advocate last month for removing the fence. I discussed, should we remove the fence?
Okay.
And since it's a no parking area, I actually think the fence is a bit of an obstacle. Now, if there's a crash in that area, sure, that people are gonna slam into that fence. But there's been very little accident history in that vicinity. Generally, it's usually around intersections that we see that. Long term, I think 10-year history, there's been 4 accidents that are pretty minor as well. So I'm not personally concerned about the fence. I view that as yet another structure that we could view as grandfathered, but upon deterioration, it would be removed. So, and if it's got vegetation in it and all this other stuff, we're gonna come in there and clean up the vegetation.
Are there any other questions for this man's?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't, Mr. Yeah, ask a question. Do we have an overlay map that would show actually what we own there?
We could roughly pull up the GIS, I don't know who has the.
I'll let you, if you can do that, that would be great, and then I just would like, so all the piers and boat lifts.
If you go to page 29, you will have an image that is taken from our GIS.
It's hard to.
It's hard to see the
Well, I
yellow.
guess you can,
Yeah.
I didn't even see that line before, but now that you say it's there, I can see it.
Yeah, you can see it's pretty slim it is a bit of a high level because I had to pan out to get that much in there.
So, Rich, how would everybody get their boat lifts and piers out of there, do we know?
Well, there are gaps in those fence, first off. Second, they could take them over to the launch site and pull them out if they had I'm not sure if Lake Beulah has a ability to get what am I having? Sorry, I'm tired.
It would,
Not a tugboat, but a barge. That's the word I'm looking for. So,
It's up there.
right now, what you're talking about, it would be a hefty cost for everybody on that lake. Because first off, you're pulling the docks and you're putting them on the shore where they're gonna sit anyway. For the company, the lift company, to take each dock, we have 2 properties on there. I have 3 docks, or I have 3 docks and 3 lifts. So for us to do that would be a huge cost. And everybody along there would be a huge cost. Where all they do is sit in there in the winter and there hasn't been any problems in the last however many years with them sitting on the shoreline.
And then you have to find storage.
Yeah,
Where are
storage.
you
Yeah,
gonna-
where are they gonna go?
There's older people.
Well,
on
that's-
It's not, this isn't.
Yeah, this isn't back and forth.
I'm making my point,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Somebody's gotta speak first.
All I'm advocating is we have quite the exception going here, compared to everywhere else. I mean, we have people that try to use the county right of way for various business and or
And
private purposes.
My only concern, I mean, what happened there, the phone calls that we got and so forth, obviously was not right. In this, put that area on the spotlight now. However,
It did.
if, would it create more danger if these boat lift companies come in and they park on J, tying up traffic and causing an accident? I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there. And then it'll cost a person $15,000 or $20,000 to take a pier in and out.
Well, last month, one of the things I proposed, though I don't like this idea, to be honest with you, is because it's an exception, but we do have right-of-way permits. And, I mean, if you were so entertained to do so, we would permit these on an annual basis to use the right-of-way. But again, I need legal opinion as to whether or not that would even be allowed.
I'm not advocating either way, I'm just bringing up points.
Because it's just not common to use the right of way for private purposes. We don't have any rules set up for that.
See, my whole problem is that what happens on another lake, someone wants to do this on another lake, and then you say, well, you can't do it, and they say, well, look at this.
I'm with you there, yeah, I
You
agree.
know, I mean,
We're setting precedent.
we went through this. And it cost the township and,
Wood Lake,
pardon me?
what lake was it on?
He's saying any lake.
Powers.
Powers Lake?
Yes.
Powers.
They had to redo it, replant trees, they had to do everything they took off.
Joe, anything?
I mean, I'll go along with what, Rich says, that if you, wanna agree to let it stand, but if anything is rotted away, anything has to be repaired, they can't repair it or replace it, they have to take it off the lake.
But what about the storage of the piers?
They can't store them on public property,
They can or can't?
can't.
And so like Rich said, if you were to charge them to store them on an annual basis, are we setting ourselves up? I mean, I don't know.
I don't think Mike even answered that.
Yeah, I need a legal opinion on that, if that's even
Is
possible.
that possible?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was talking about something else more over here.
If the people were able to store on the public right of way,
Through permits.
in front of their house, their boat ramps, except through the winter, can we legally charge them, or are we setting ourselves up?
I think that's a couple parts to that answer. If you can charge them, that's up to you, but now you're opening up your right of way. We're gonna get, if I was a business owner on the other side of the county that I can think of, I'm immediately calling and saying, I want a permit to use your right of way.
Okay.
You do it for one, you do it for
I wanna
the
park my cars there, I wanna have my flea market parking there.
Give you an example of the other side of the county. We were doing a road project and an individual had parking in our right of way and wanted us to rebuild the parking lot for him because part of it was in the right of way as he had marked it. And me and Joe were like, this is our right of way. We will not be building you your parking. We will just re-asphalt what's in the right of way and we're done with it. And then I think he, if I recall correctly, paid for his own contract to do what was outside the right of way and restriped it as parking again. But the line stopped right at our right of way, if I recall correctly. However, we know that cars are longer than what he marked, so we weren't going to consent to basically agreeing to, a parking lot on the county road.
May I ask a clarification question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
So this is Jeff with the Lakeview Management. You mentioned the fence, and my question is, and we want to do things right, so Lakeview Management owns a parcel across from Double D's, and that it predates me by many, many years, a old dilapidated split rail fence. Most of the fences along J are metal, so they're gonna last a long time. So for clarification purposes, we are trying to determine what options we might have. Can we replace it where it's at? One of the problems that you have is you have to be 75 feet off the shore to put a fence in technically. So we would be in the right of way, that fence is in the right of way, but we're looking for, if you're gonna grandfather with the fact that this is an old split rail fence compared to 99% of everybody else, which is a steel fence, would we be allowed to just replace that, or do we have to go through a variance cycle, or what do we do?
Just, this is Rick Stacy, I would say that's a hard no. If we would, the way this is presented today, that you're not allowed to repair any of the structures unless the committee comes up with something different, but Rich, I'll let you
Well,
answer to that.
I mean, to let the Lake District do what we're telling the gentleman who spoke earlier, which we've denied, we would be walking right into the same, dilemma of why is this an exception? Now, if this one happens to be dilapidating sooner than others, then based on what I'm advocating, then it gets removed for safety purposes. So.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I just wanted clarification, that is precisely what we thought, but just so we are crystal clear on our options, that's all that I'm looking for, so I appreciate it, and I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and I believe it's the boundary of what we define as the dam, their property. So if they were just slightly further down, then we wouldn't be talking